Okay, hello everybody. So we didn't get a chance yesterday to do my weekly Wednesday inspiration because yesterday was just a crazy day. So we're doing our weekly Wednesday inspiration on a Thursday. So today's topic is the importance of having a training program in your salon. I think this is especially geared toward owners that are looking to build a culture, and I'm going to talk about what that can do for your culture, how it can really instantly kind of create that for you. And then I think this is really even just as important for students to hear that are maybe in cosmetology school, thinking about going to cosmetology school or graduating very, very soon, and you're wondering, you're looking for a job, and you're wondering, where do I go? What do I look for? And I think that you got to be selective about where you want to work, and I think that you should kind of be interviewing the place as they interview you, to be honest, and we'll talk about that as well. And then I have a surprise for you as well. We're going to talk to a few of my team members that will give you some insight from their perspective on a training program. So let's just first kind of describe what I mean when I say a training program. I don't mean having like a monthly education class, which I think is also important, or maybe a quarterly education class or whatever. We do that as well on top of our training program. So the training program is going to be something that you're actually hiring people and putting through a program, whether it's a year program, a 6-month program, whatever it is for you, and then that graduates them onto your salon floor. So you instantly create kind of a standard and a bar that you're going to set. Now, mine is modeled directly after Nick's at Arojo, and I never opened my salon thinking that I would be adding a training program to it. It was never even a thought. It wasn't even something I had ever been a part of. I never went through a training program in any kind of a salon. I didn't come from like a Sassoon or an Arojo or kind of a structured type of a brand that had a training program. I worked in a neighborhood salon outside of a BOCES program, so like a high school, cosmetology school, and then got a job in my area and started working behind the chair. And that probably is a lot of you that are going to watch this, or maybe some of you are what you think about with a salon. So the more that I got around Arojo, the more I realized, okay, there's a culture here, and one of the backbones of the whole culture is the training program. It's the way that you train people. It's a way of thought. It's a philosophy of the way that you do hair. There's a uniform approach to the way that you do it. But that still leaves room for personality within that. That doesn't mean that everybody's a robot and everybody does it the same. But it does mean that there's a certain bar that's set, and everyone has to reach that bar and hold that bar up to keep the culture. The other thing that I noticed was when I saw young stylists at Arojo, I was impressed with how good they already were and how quick they were that good. And I realized that came from their training. And I started to think about my own skill set, and I kind of felt like I missed out. I missed out on being trained. I missed out on being mentored. I didn't know what to look for, and I didn't know what to look for a decade. But I wasn't even looking. I realized that I could change that for the future of my brand by hiring people that wanted to be a part of a training program. And there were some really great byproducts of what happened. So first of all, the main thing that I think is amazing about creating a training program is it puts you in the spotlight, in the sense of not in an ego spotlight, in a spotlight like a magnifying glass, where you better be doing really great hairdressing and practicing great hairdressing habits if you're going to want to start teaching them. So the first thing that I did was just got myself into a training program. And meaning I attended every single class I could at Arojo. I went to boot camp for 4 straight weeks, 5 days a week. And I kind of took 2 straight years and decided this is what I'm going to do. And in that meantime, I started showing my team a bit of what I was learning, but I really didn't have anything structured and bona fide. At first, my training program was, okay, we're going to grab a mannequin and show you stuff on some downtime. Meanwhile, you're never going to find the downtime. You know that. So the next thing was, okay, we're going to do it for 2 hours every Tuesday. And we had this little tiny back room with a tripod and a mannequin. It was me and one person, 2 people. And then I realized, okay, well, there's not enough structure. It's not organized. And I remember reaching out to Nick and some of his team and just trying to ask for some guidance. And they really helped me structure kind of the program. And then I could take what they gave me and I kind of made it my own in the sense of just schedule and what made sense. And at first we were training mostly on mannequins. And I realized that after training people on mannequins for a while, that wasn't really getting them to the level quick enough. We were doing models every 3rd week of training. and it just wasn't moving fast enough. I didn't see enough improvement in people. There was some, for sure, but they weren't learning the really like mechanics of what it takes to be behind the chair, meaning a client that has a personality, a head that moves, a human in your chair, someone that you have to consult with and educate and teach them retail and sell retail to them, all those kind of things. That wasn't happening on mannequins. So we started, I remember sitting with Nick one night and he was just like, you gotta stop all this mannequin work, you gotta get models in, you gotta get them to get models. And I was kind of afraid of that because I knew the backlash of the sense of it would make it harder for everybody. It's harder to find humans to come to training every single Tuesday or Wednesday. So at that point, what I decided to do was I'm going to take 3 months, and this was this time last year. I took October, November, December, and I said, I'm going to put together this binder that Nick keeps talking about that they have, and there was a quota, and I didn't even really look at their binder that much. I had a lot of the notes from the training technique, but I didn't look at their quota or anything like that because I figured, let me create my own, and then I can always compare it and see kind of where I'm at. And I used them as a barometer. And I remember Nick's manager, Nuala, hopefully she watches this, she was like, why don't you just, ask us? Because we'll just give it to you. I said, well, I think a part of it is kind of developing it yourself. And then I wanted to compare to see kind of like, how do you guys do it and compare it to maybe what I've come up with. And what I did was I said, okay, there's going to be a 5 model quota per technique. And we're going to grade it on a scale of 1 to 5. And it's going to look like a graph, almost like just like a checklist. And in each square, there's 5 squares next to each technique. And maybe one of you guys can grab a binder real quick so I can just show them. There's a quota for each technique, and we grade you on a scale of 1 to 5. And you have to get a grade of a 3 or a higher to get a signature in that square. And you want, hey Oscar, you want signatures in every square across the board in order for you then to work toward what we call your test out. Your test out is like it's just a test out. There's going to be 5 or 6 models. You decide what the test out quota is, what they should be presenting. We're not departmentalized in my salon. They do cut and color. So their test out is going to be 5 or 6 models, usually 6, that are going to be a particular type of a look for each model as well as a color. And I've slightly adjusted that as I've gone to help try to speed it up in a healthy way. You can't speed it up to the point, thank you. You can't speed it up to the point where it sacrifices quality. That's the problem. You have to speed it up to the point where how do you keep the quality but make it maybe move a little quicker in certain areas. So this is what the binder looks like. I'm just going to spin this around for a second. Hold that for me for a second. My watch is falling off my hand. And I can't concentrate here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'll show you who's holding the camera in a second. Okay, so this is the training program binder. Okay, you see this screen, that's just our schedule. It's a very quiet day today, so that's why I have time. Okay, so training program binder. It starts with, what the phases of our training is broken into. We break it into 4 phases: line work and layering, graduation, men's hair cutting and barbering, color is phase 4. And see, right here it just says, welcome to the D'Anthony Training Program. This education program is the foundation of what will help you become a great hairdresser. Your commitment to excellence and passion for your craft is what will ensure your success and help you excel. The role will not be easy, but it will absolutely be worth it. So some of this I came up with on my own. I broke it into the phases. A lot of this came from Arojo. So I'm not showing you this to impress you or to tell you that I've invented anything new. I'm trying to show you something that has helped my salon build a serious culture. Are they on the floor outside of training, or do they assist/do other things throughout the week? Great question, Taylor, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I'll explain in detail, but they are on the floor outside of training as far as assisting. They're not on the floor quite yet as far as on the floor taking clients, but I'll explain that in further. Oscar, thank you. I'm glad that you love it. And Kristen, how do you get this? Well, I kind of made it. So this is something that you can create for yourself, for your own salon. I remember you were telling me that you're starting to head up education. This could be a really cool thing that you create for your guys' team. You talk to your owner about it and see if maybe she would allow you to maybe work with you in building something like this for the salon, which is the point of why I'm showing you this today. So these are all the notes, and then there's a diagram key for how you're going to create a head sheet, and then we start right away. We talk about the grading, how I grade them, technique, suitability, finish, so that they understand how they're graded. They're graded the same way during the training program as they will be at their test out. and then you have your phases. In each phase, like line work and layering, then you have your techniques, like your long layer, your collar length round layer. This is all Arojo-based techniques. You can look at this on arojonyc.com. It is $30 for a subscription, and you're going to get all of these techniques. So all of my team lives in the classics section of subscription. Their kind of job is, you'll see here, you'll be required to complete 5 live models of each technique. And then where does it say? Oh, here we go. Here it says, basically the way it will work is that you'll be required to read the training manual notes for the corresponding technique, view the video on Arojo, and then create a head sheet. Once you do that, you bring it in, we go over the head sheet, and then we do it on actual models. And then basically you'll see throughout the rest of the book, it's just all the techniques, all the phases. Let's skip all the way to the back to the checklists. And then I'm going to introduce you to 2 of my team members who have been through the program, and they're both at 2 different levels. So this is what a checklist looks like. So as you can see, let's peel this off here. Thank you. Okay. So as you can see here, see training program checklist. This is for haircutting. All of our techniques down one column, 5 rows across. Each box they get scored in. Same thing here. All the color techniques, and that's really, it's very simple when you break it down this way. So I'm going to spin this back. Can you just put that away from me? Thank you. Okay, so that shows you what the binder looks like. So what that happens is when you hire someone and you show them a binder like this, you've instantly already started to create, you've separated yourself as a brand to that new potential employee. You've also now helped enhance the level of, I think, buy-in from the employee, and then also you can then use some of your senior stylists and start to teach them how to instruct, which creates more buy-in on their side. I would love to have a senior instructor in here right now because the 2 of them are here, but they're actually working on clients. And like Oscar just commented, it's culture. What it instantly does is create culture, like basically instantly. And then you can build everything else in your culture around this, like call it the nucleus, you know what I mean, or the foundation of your culture. And then you can build everything else around it. So what are the other things you build around it? Well, you build teamwork around it. You build communication. You build integrity. You build trust. Client experience. All of those things kind of come around what the foundation of your backbone is, which is your training program. It's a great insurance policy for you because, listen, people are going to come and go. People move. People change. If a senior stylist leaves, it's never a happy thing. But if they do, you know that you're training 5, 8, 10 people at a time, 3, however many, 1, whatever. You're building that into your culture. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to 2 team members. One's name is Nicole. Nicole is a stylist on the floor. She's been on the floor now full-time just 6 months. And she's made amazing progress. I mean, she's a bit of a prodigy to a large degree. She was kind of, you kind of will see that when you start training people, you kind of pick up on someone that maybe has a bit of a knack for it, maybe someone that can move a little bit quicker. You can see that. You have to hone in on that, and you have to help that person move at their pace. And they might be moving at a slightly faster pace than others. It's a lot to manage, don't get me wrong. We train twice a week, every Tuesday, every Wednesday. They're my 2 hardest days in the salon. It's not when I'm doing clients, that's my challenging days. It's Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But it's a great hard, and it's worth it. Okay, so I'm going to first introduce you to Nicole. So I'm going to just spin it around this way so we're on the camera together. And that's Monica in the back. So Nicole, like I said, has been on the floor now for 6 months. Monica, you came on board when?
In January.
In January of this year. So it's just been just about 12 months. How long have you worked with us?
2 years.
Okay, I'm going to just slide this over. Actually, well, no, I don't, so we can see. Okay, so there's your face. Perfect. Okay, so it's been 2 years. Now, how long did you go through the training program?
I would say a year and a half.
Year and a half. And what was one of the things that attracted you to work at the salon?
Definitely the education program.
Okay, and how did you hear about it?
Well, when I left, I was working at a place in the city, and then when I left there, I did my research on every salon that I wanted to work at in Rockland and in Westchester, and then I narrowed it down by who had education and who didn't. And then when I found out that you had education, Rockland, that was like the #1 place in Rockland I wanted to work.
Okay, so that's a very important point that Nicole just made. I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. We didn't plan this. We haven't rehearsed this or anything. They're kind of put on the spot. They were freaking out. She had to put makeup on, all that. So The important thing is that what happens is when you create that, I never knew that someone like Nicole would be looking for something like that and then come apply. So what happens is you kind of create a magnet for the right type of individual that you kind of want to work for you because they want to learn. They're searching for something and you're searching for them. So it's like this great relationship that happens instantly because it's a symbiotic relationship. It's a what word am I looking for? I can't think of the word, but it one hand washes the other in the sense that I'm looking for people that are willing to learn, that want to like not jump on the salon floor the minute they get out of school, and then that person, like Nicole just said, she's looking for the salon that will teach her. So right away, she's already separated herself from the crowd, I would say. The first time we met was actually at a demo I did at the school she went to, which was in Rockland. But then she didn't apply to work for me after that. She ended up working in the city at Louis Licari. She had a great experience there for a year or so, but then it was time to move on. And she said, okay, I want to be a little bit closer. So synergy, that is the word. Thank you, Oscar. At that point, you know, it kind of all fell into place. So now just talk a little bit about, Nicole, the process of the training, your test out situation, and where you are now.
So when I first started the training program with Derek, it was Tuesday nights, so we did
and that was when we just did mannequins, right?
Yeah, it was mannequins for 3 weeks and then a model. And then when we moved to the new space is kind of when you changed the whole program and said, let's do models. So at that point, I took it upon myself to bring models in on my days off. And then it kind of just snowballed into there. And then when you said, okay, this is your test out date, you gave me, I had to do a single process, highlight, hair painting, and then for hair cutting was class graduated bob, one length bob, and long layers.
Exactly.
And then we all came, so you had come in, you prep your models for that day after watching the video, the Arojo video subscription a million times, and, you know, working strategically on these different,
different techniques.
Different techniques on these people, and then you come in and you showcase it, which was probably a little more nerve-wracking than I thought it was going to be, because now you're in front of all of your superiors and your peers and your boss and, you know, head stylists, and they're going through and checking your work, but at the end result is like better than anything you could imagine.
Yeah, and she was a great example of putting in the work, and she's been through, she like kind of, her and a bunch of the others that are part of this, I'm singling the two of them out, not because they're higher up than any others, just because they were here today and because they're great examples of a bunch of the team that we have here. And Nicole's really excelled as a stylist, and so has Carly. And what I would say is that for those of you probably wondering right now or asking, how do I even start this thing? You got to start it. You got to just start it. You can't, like, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to adjust it. I've relaunched it twice in the past couple of years. Like, this January 1st was the real relaunch where, like Nicole said, we were doing mannequins for 3 straight weeks, then a model. So it was like we were getting models once every 3 weeks. You're getting 2 models every 6 weeks. It just wasn't enough to move the needle for them to, like, then get on the floor and feel comfortable because you've already been working with people for so long. And that's when we changed it. Okay, let's train twice a week. Let's do Tuesday and Wednesday, and let's make sure it's all models all the time. Now, when models don't show up, or if the person can't get a model, grab a mannequin, no problem. If you aren't getting models 2 weeks in a row, we're going to have a conversation in this office, not in a, you know, bashing you, but just like, what's up? What struggle are you having? What challenge are you having? Why are you not being able to get models? You're going to know right away the ones that are, like, really trying to get models and maybe just haven't had great luck, or people no-showed or canceled, and you'll know the ones that are dragging their feet. And that's going to separate the cream from everything else right away. The cream will rise to the top naturally. And then now talk about the 6 months that you've been on the floor. How prepared did you feel because of the training program and, you know, tracking your numbers? Mention something about that.
So I definitely felt way more ready and positive about being on the floor. You just have, like, a different mindset. When you get out of school, I didn't have all the tools that I have now. And through this training program, like, the repetitiveness is, that's what really builds your self-esteem. So then now you're ready, because now it's not a mannequin, it's a real person. You already know how to talk to that person, and you just get more confident, and it just becomes a lot easier to be on the floor. And even being on the floor for the last 6 months is a learning experience in itself.
Exactly.
But you're much more prepared going through the training program to then work on real paying clients than I would have been beforehand.
Yeah, think of it like this: if you were teaching someone to swim, if they were a new swimmer, and the minute that they learned a stroke, okay, go, you're just going to throw them in the deep end. That's like what happens to most of us as hairdressers. You get your license, you're just thrown on the floor, and then it's like, well, what do? You're going to sink or swim, and some of us will sink, some of us will swim, some of us will do okay, or some of us will just get by. And I realized, like, okay, well, I want to prepare them better. Nothing's better than just the actual experience, but if they have some of that, like, practice underneath their belt, then it's going to help them a lot. So for Nicole, she's already averaging around $1,500 a week in services. She's doing amazing. Her retail numbers have slowly improved. It's getting better. We've been talking about that and working on that together, because she's aware of what's happening. She's aware of her average service ticket, aware of how many clients come and go. She already talks to me, about, okay, I didn't have a great retail week, or, because she's tracking it the same way that I am. So it just creates a synergy. So Oscar just asked, we always hear these excuses of days off. I'm a mother, I have this or that and can't make it. How do you address that? Not me, my coaching clients. That's such a good question. People ask me this at every single class that I teach when I was doing all the business classes. Every owner would ask me that. And this is what I will say. Hire people that don't believe in excuses. If you have a bunch of excuse-ridden people, it's going to be very challenging for you to change that. Now, some of them are able to adjust their thinking. Like, for instance, Sabrina, when we were dating, we're still dating technically, but I mean, even like when we first started dating, she just never made an excuse that she was a single mom that had 2 kids. She just didn't make an excuse. She got a babysitter, she sucked it up, she paid for it, she knew it was an investment, and she showed up. And then her book blew up because of that. She's the top stylist because of that. She averages between $3,000 and $4,000 a week all the time in services. And she used to average $500 a week when she started for me less than 5 years ago. So she was able to do that because she had buy-in, because she wanted it for herself. You can't want it for your employee more than they want it for themselves. You can't. And I want it for all of them really bad, and I've had to let go of people that I still want it for bad now and hope that they work out, hope it works out for them. I just maybe knew that it wasn't the right fit for me anymore, or them. So now that's one side of it. So hire motivated people that already don't believe in the excuses. They're just not an excuse-driven human being. If you do have those people, then you're going to need to coach them and sit them down and talk to them. What I would say is, if you have a big team or even a small team, I've realized if I spend my time thinking about one of them a lot, they might not be the right fit for my team, unfortunately. I might have to make an adjustment, or I might have to give them maybe a warning, like, okay, this is where we're at. Let's see where we're at in the next 60 days, and let's decide from there, and we'll make an agreement. And it's an open line of communication all the time. What we're doing is not easy at all. It's, okay, what's the excuses? Okay, well, I couldn't find a model, or there could be a million different things. Sometimes excuses are reasons. Things happen. Oh, my model canceled just now. Look, she texted me. That's not someone being excuse-ridden. That's just like someone canceled. So you have to also be, I think, reasonable. You can't be overly militant, but you got to have a standard. That's the difference. Don't be overly militant, but have a standard. Be willing to be flexible when it's the right situation. But also you got to be fair. You can't be flexible with one and not flexible with another unless you've spoken to them about that. Maybe you've been flexible with the other person too much. And now you're like, okay, we got to tighten the reins a little bit, but you can't just tighten it without a conversation. You got to talk about it. I'm in this office all the time talking. I'm a communicator. I've tried really hard to hone that skill so that I can connect with my team. And then that helps me connect with people when I'm on stage or connect in a class. It's a transcendent thing. Well, Kristen, you'll see, just scroll back after I post this, you'll see. It's not that you can get your hands on it or not. I mean, I'm happy to share anything with you, but I think this is a great opportunity for you to maybe develop. I remember you were texting me, or on Instagram we were talking about that your owner is talking about you helping head up some education. This might be a cool thing for you to be able to develop in your salon. And if you latch on to a Rojo and you maybe connect with them, if you guys, I think you guys are Rojo ambassadors still, you can, go through that process and just have them help you build something like this. A lot of this has come from myself, but a large majority also from a Rojo. So it's definitely something that has helped me create a culture in my salon, and I'm kind of cut from that same cloth. So I'm trying to kind of walk in the footsteps or follow in a path that's been really successful already. I'm not trying to I say this all the time. I tell clients this as well. I'm not reinventing the wheel. Vidal Sassoon, had a training program, has a training program still, Sassoon. I might be recreating the wheel in my area though. And that's something really important that you could do in your area. Maybe you become the premier education brand type salon in your area. Clients know that we have this training program. So I think it helps solidify their faith in being a client of our salon because they know we're serious about this. Like, I live it, eat it, breathe it. So now let's look at Monica here in the background. So Monica, just tell them about how you ended up coming on board here.
So I went to a Rojo cosmetology school, so I knew of Derek just from going to school there. He spoke a couple of times, I think, and I just kind of knew his name. And I knew that he had a salon in Nyack, and I live a town over from Nyack. So I was working at a different salon, and they had told me that they had a training program, so I was all about that. And then it turned out it was kind of just, like Derek was saying, like a class every couple months. It wasn't an actual training program. And I was kind of used to hearing about a Rojo's training program since I went to school there, and they kind of, set the standard of what a training program is once you graduate. So I kind of knew what I wanted, and I knew that where I wasn't really what I wanted. And one day I was on my phone, and Derek does Facebook Lives and Instagram. So it was like a Tuesday, or it was one day when they had training, and I didn't know Derek or anybody at the salon, but I followed him. And I was just watching the training program, and I saw that it was real people, and it was like school. It was really like serious training. So I actually messaged, I went to high school with one of the girls who worked here before, Shannon. So I messaged her and I was like, I know you work there and you love it, tell me about it. So she was like, oh my God, you have to go apply right now. So I called and I came in.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So Shannon was the first person that was like, she gave up her time. She would help me because she wanted to be an instructor. She wanted to get into education. She's still doing that, kicking butt over in Orlando. Love you, Shannon. We started to try to create this thing. I remember sitting her down and talking to Sabrina. It was just us three, and I was just like, we can create something different, but we got to see it now first. And then I never would have thought people like a Monica or Nicole, I didn't know them, would attract people like that. And I have, I think, how many apprentices is it altogether? Is it 8? I think it's 8 altogether now. And we have 2 that are on the salon floor that have gone through the training program. One that was on the salon floor that ended up having a couple of babies, or 3 babies. So she's still friends of ours. She's just not active in the salon right now. And Monica, what's happening in 6 weeks?
So in 6 weeks, I have my test out.
Yay! And what is a test out? And just explain. I mean, Nicole said it a little bit. So actually, she already kind of went over that. But just tell them a little bit about like the process of the 12 months since you've been here, the training program itself, and then testing out in 6 weeks.
So when I got here, that's when Derek started the whole models every single week, and I remember talking to him, and he said, you're going to need a model every 2 times a week. And that was a little bit scary at first, but it wasn't that scary for me just because I knew Rojo did it too, so it wasn't like very shocking as I could imagine it would be. But still, I was like pretty concerned. And it's just, you just can't tell yourself it's going to be hard. You just have to be like, I'm going to do it. And it turns out being fine as long as you're dedicated and you go out. Sometimes you have to go on the street and go up to people, but
not work the streets, just like hit the streets.
So yeah, as long as I just kept thinking about like the end result, and kept my eyes on that, and then it kind of all came easy because I was just willing to put the work in.
And how fast has the year gone?
So fast.
And how hard was it during the process?
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard. It was pretty hard at some points because, like he was saying, people cancel and, you know, kind of like throws your day off. But it's fine because you get a mannequin and you do the same thing and you're still learning. You're always learning. It's not, you know, it's never like if you don't have a model, you go home, you learn and you see everybody else with their clients, so you can always learn something no matter what.
So, okay, so back to Oscar's question about the excuse thing. Do you hear what she was saying? I didn't teach her any of that. She had it in her mind when she said, okay, I'm going to join this training program. I'm going to go all in. It's like when someone signs up for a college course, some people are just going to pay the money and not do the work. And other people are like, you know what, I'm paying this money, or my parents are paying this money for me. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to work really hard. And I'm sure Monica was probably like that in school, although I've never asked her about that. I would bet you she was a great student. So that typically is going to kind of go hand in hand. Someone that is very responsible, that is a bit mature for their age, doesn't have to be overly mature because you can help them mature along the way as a professional, but at least have an idea of maturity for being a professional. Someone that is going to show up on time, that you don't have to constantly tell them to be on time. Like, that's the kind of stuff, if you already have that stuff locked in, and that's the personality you already hired, it makes your job so much easier because you're not chasing after them for that other stuff. Now, are we still human? Yes, no one's perfect. There are times that I have to talk to all of us about being better on time. Yeah, I got to be better on time sometimes. But you got to be really, really clear. Like, if you're slipping up on something, you got to include yourself in the slip up. Don't tell everybody what they need to do and you ain't doing it your damn self. That is the worst thing you could possibly do for your own culture, because you crack your culture without even knowing it. And then all of a sudden everybody's in the back room talking about how you have these standards for them, but you won't even live up to the standards that you've set. So you have to own it. Like, I think everyone that works for me, everyone that's around me on a business setting, tends to realize, like, okay, I think he kind of walks the walk. And that's really important. That's not a boastful thing to say. I'm not lying about what I'm saying I'm doing. I'm really doing it. So if that's really what you're committed to, then that's going to speak volumes for itself. You don't have to promote it that much. It promotes itself. And then someone like Monica, who 12 months later has worked her ass off to do it, were there moments where she was discouraged? Were there times where we had to have a pep talk in the back because she just had a bad streak of models, where she thought maybe she would be in trouble because she didn't have the models? That's the kind of personality that you're looking for. Someone that cares. Someone that really, really, really cares. And she cares not because of my brand. She cares because she cares for her own career. And then she knows that I care about her career. And then it becomes, again, a symbiotic relationship. There's synergy there. There's a mutual understanding that your success is mine and mine is yours. It's a linked thing. I can't have my brand grow without people like Monica and Nicole. They won't grow to their full potential as much. I'm sure they'd be fine, but they probably won't get fully there without something that insulates them a bit and helps them along the way, just like all of us. I can't do that without, someone like Nick in my ear, or all the other mentors like Jill and Peter, Anthony, and people that have been, Oscar, anyone, Lance, anyone I've talked to that have helped me that much. Stephen Adams, David Gatt, all of my friends that I consider mentors to me. I can't do it without them either, so I have to then pass that on to my team. And then guess what happens with Monica with the next crew? What do you think is going to happen? Or what has happened where Nicole has helped Monica? How many times have you guys discussed or helped each other, or maybe talked about something that was like something you experienced? Or
A lot.
That's a big part of it, and that creates a culture. So I want to thank Monica and Nicole so much for just hanging out with me for the past. I told them it'd be 3 minutes each. It was a little longer, I think. So thank you guys so much for being a part of it. I want to thank you guys for watching. I think that this about wraps up the idea of what a training program can do for you, the benefits of it, the byproducts of it, where you didn't even know what that would help. But one of the largest byproducts is the magnet that it creates. And the separation that it shows in your own brand. So if you have any questions about this, please comment on this or just send me a message. If you like what you've watched, please share so other people can see it. I think this is so important for salon owners to understand that I believe that as salon owners, especially commission-based salon owners that are paying commission, I think it's our responsibility to do these kind of things for your team, and that creates the buy-in, and then you're giving them a reason to want to continue to work for you. And then if they decide to move on, then great, good for them. But you have this really strong thing happening, and you're taking responsibility for your own business and brand. And I try to give people value, and why would they want to work for me? And I think about that a lot, and I know that the training program is a big part of that. So again, I have to thank Nick, like, unbelievably for helping me on this level. I would not understand what I'm explaining to you guys without his guidance, and I always credit him for that, because this is not me inventing anything. This is me walking in a path, following the footsteps. If you're a salon owner, talk to Arojo, contact Nick at arojonyc.com, email him, ask about being an Arojo ambassador. That's what's helped me this much to create this kind of a culture. And I'm going to sign off for now. So thanks again, and we'll do the weekly Wednesday inspiration on Wednesday next week. See you then.